Hi, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. In today's video, we are going to create an applique Easter egg using Art and Stitch. I will also show you how I created an SVG file and sent that to my Silhouette for cutting out the applique shapes. Okay, last year I designed this egg in Electric Quilt, and there is a video on doing that. This month, what I want to do is actually show you how I brought this into Art and Stitch and then created an embroidery machine that I could stitch out on my brother embroidery machine. So I started by going back to that Applique tab, and I'm going to just select all of it, and I'm going to resize it. And I'm just going to do a 50-50 on it, and the reason I'm resizing it is I want to separate all of the elements because I'm going to be tracing them using the trace feature in Art and Stitch, and it is much easier to trace these items if they are separate images. And then I'm going to go into the Color tab, and I'm going to just recolor them all black. And again, the main reason for doing this is to make it very easy to trace. So I'm going to add this to my sketchbook, and now I'm going to export my image. And I am going to this Applique Easter Egg Pieces and select Save. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to Art and Stitch, and I'm just going to do a File New. Now it is very important that you select this type of design to be embroidery and the machine format to be an embroidery machine format, and select OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the outline wizard, and I'm going to select the image. And I'm going to navigate to my Applique Easter Egg Pieces and select Open. And then I'll just do Next. I want to make sure Color Image is actually the one checked here. And then I'm going to do Next. And Next again. And then just Finish. And everything comes in, but it does come in as a stitch design. So I'm going to select the All Items in Sequence view, and I'm going to go ahead and go select the Back to Artwork, and that will make each of those independent images. Now here's the other thing. If I click on the reshape and I click on a design, notice that there are a lot of nodes in there. And so the next thing I want to do is really do a little bit of a simplification. So I'm going to select All Items. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select Simplify Smooth. And I just use the default settings and select OK. Now if I go back to this egg, you can see I'm down to just 5 nodes. So it really did a very nice cleanup of each of the items. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to center that egg. And then I'm going to start layering these back the way I had them in EQ. Now, I am going to, I'll use my navigator button, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to clean up the image because a lot of these nodes come in as smooth points, and they don't necessarily match up, and I want everything to match up perfectly with the outside of my egg. And like here, that's an extra node. I don't really need that. That one down there, I have a cusp, but I want to make it straighter on the one end. And then when I go to the other side, you can see that I really need to add a cusp point there. I need rid of that one, and I can just click on it and do a delete point. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this for all of the elements. And try to get the design as precise as I can. Now once I've got my Easter egg all aligned and all this is put in place, I'm going to go ahead and in sequence view select all items, and I'm going to do a property transform, and I'm going to change the height to 3.8. My hoop for my embroidery machine is actually 4 inches, but I also need to have a little bit of extra space for the satin stitch that goes around the applique. So I will do apply for that. Now what I can do is go ahead and just add the applique stitch. And when I was looking at this, thought that I had a little bit of overlap where I didn't necessarily always want it. So I brought the width down to 3.5 and I selected apply. Now notice that there's actually 3 separate stitch outs for each item. There's a placement line, there's a tack down, and then there's the finish, which is typically the satin stitch for that. So once I have that done, I can do a file save as, and I'm calling this Applique Easter Egg, and I'm going to save it in my machine in the Art and Stitch format, and then I'm going to do a file save as, and I'm going to keep the name the same, but I'm going to save it in my machine format. Now I need to create the applique shapes, and for that I'm actually going to use my Silhouette machine. So I'm going to take all these items and do a Control C. I'm going to do a file new, this one I think I'm just going to do an embroidery machine in my format again. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that back to artwork. Now I'm going to do a file export artwork. And for this, I'm going to select the SVG format. And that is because that's the format that my Silhouette machine can read. So I'm going to label this Easter Egg SVG and select Save. Now in my Silhouette, I'm going to do a file Open, and I'm going to navigate to my Easter Egg SVG and select OK. Now I can go ahead and I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup the items, which then means I can move the pieces, and I'm going to put sort of the like colors together, and I'm going to put fabric, fabric with fusible on the back on my on my cutting mat. Once I have them all done, I can look at the cut settings. And for this, I'm going to select, I want to select a cut, and I want to select fabric as my type. And now all I need to do is send this to my machine. Thanks so much for watching. In addition to the design featured here, I also played with a couple of other variations in Art and Stitch and have examples on my website. Please take a look at www.onpointquilter.com.